Welcome, Gemini, to your high voltage Mars square Pluto deep dive video through the 22nd to the 30th of May. One of astrology's most intense, tumultuous, and turbulent planetary aspects occurs, culminating on the 26th when it perfects at exactly 90 degrees. Mars and Pluto are agitating against each other. It hasn't happened for 2 years. It won't happen again for another 18 months. On the screen is the exact moment the square occurs from a Gemini perspective. I'm going to unpack this for you and all the other planetary influences. By the end of the video, Gemini, you'll have a clear understanding of how to navigate this in terms of your vitality, work, relationships, and finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. Going to just briefly summarize the themes of the two planets. Mars rules two zodiac signs, Aries and Scorpio. Pluto is the higher octave co-regent of the sign of Scorpio. So a very scorpionic event for sure. But Mars, through its rulership of Aries, is about action, initiation, can be about our sense of identity, ego. It can be also about our desire. It can be about impatience. It can be about anger and war, of course, because of Eros. But it's also very much about wanting to assert. Through its rulership of Scorpio, much more subtle. It's deeper, but it's about the need for instant gratification when required, but it can be reactive, but also confrontational. It wants to come up against challenges in order to help us to evolve. Pluto, on the other hand, very much in a positive sense, can be about how we transform. It can be how we go through different phases of our life. And sometimes that does include things coming to an end, but then being rebirthed. It can be about when we're rather obsessed, but of course, it can be about where we assert our power, but not necessarily in a very obvious way. Now, Mars at the present time is in the sign of Taurus. Mars here really appreciates a degree of continuity. It's slower to be roused into anger. It's more about appreciating the status quo. It's very much wanting a recognition of its value and worth. And it can be more focused on the material plane in terms of possessions and money. But Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, Pluto very much the planet of the collective, but Aquarius is us collectively. If we go back to Pluto when it first moved into Aquarius with 10, 11 weeks in the spring of 2023 in the Northern Hemisphere and in the autumn of the South, that's when we saw the whole debate about AI really gaining traction. So Pluto in the sign of Aquarius is very futuristic. And we can see with the rate of change around robotics, automation, artificial intelligence, that things are shifting, but also because Aquarius can be rather detached, it can have a rather dystopian energy. For example, we can all communicate to a degree, but human communication requires things like touch, warmth, and those are less Aquarian qualities. But Mars in the sign of Taurus for you is buried in your 12th house, a deeply psychological transit, which is going to go on through to the end of June. And it is going to give you the chance to revisit some old tender issues, which perhaps you thought you had dealt with, and you may have done, but they can have a habit of old angers, which are just really deep in our psyche, being reignited in a potentially reactive way by Mars. And suddenly things can really affect us that we're not necessarily anticipating. It could be an old relationship. It could be when someone passed. It could be an accident we had, an injustice that we suffered, and a burning rage can just come up from the depths of our very being. But at other times, Mars in the 12th house can see us overcome with great emotion. So it's really quite complex. So the square between them is essentially a stubborn standoff because Pluto, in a way, is about secrets. The ninth house, where it is for you, is about openness. It is about legalities. It's about higher principles, philosophies, history. And Pluto being in that house, in a way, could see you having some kind of greater connection to publishing. It may be to writing. It may be to broadcasting. It could be to your own YouTube channel. It may be to a contract. It may be that you're involved in international trade or connections. But Mars could, in that 12th house, arouse, surprisingly for you, I feel, an anxiety. And the anxiety may be because you're more conscious suddenly that someone can see a side of you that leaves you feeling a bit exposed. Or it could be an old topic someone talks about, or suddenly you find that you need to share about something. And that all creates quite a lot of tension. Just at a time when we look at these energies in your sign, when it's very much about fresh beginnings, new ideas, electric, vibrant, vivacious Gemini energy, your ruler and Uranus in your sign at this time. And in a really constructive way with Pluto, the sun is in a trine. So if you are doing something new and innovative and exciting, things can be transforming in an entirely productive way. And because the moon in the fair-minded sign of Libra is linking back to Pluto and the sun forging a grand air trine, if you are at the heart of something at the moment, leading something, galvanizing people, your enthusiasm, but also your warmth, and also your utter compulsion with Pluto could be very hard for people to resist. But just be aware if there's something you're really desiring, and it may be someone, it could be your financial situation you want to improve. Venus, the ruler of Taurus, is actually in an extraordinarily strong link with Mars. So there may be something that's going on behind the scenes in a very constructive way for you that you're working towards. But equally, Venus is in a quincunx with Pluto. So if there's a financial plan or idea you've got which is perhaps pushing it a little bit around, I'm just saying this not in a personal context, around what's right wherever you live, or whether it will be particularly thought of in a positive way, that could show up. So you could achieve something because Mars and Pluto can give us an extraordinary amount of willpower and desire to get what we want from a situation. And it may be Mars is going to see you being quite subterranean, crafty in your approach, working behind the scenes, taking soundings, and then publicly being very effervescent, sparkling. So that's entirely possible as well. But in traditional astrology, the 12th house can be about secret enemies. And if someone knows something about you that is quite contentious, unfortunately, they may try to use that against you over the next 10 days. But equally, it may be you who's drawn towards the dark arts, because that can be Pluto and it can be Mars together across the 12th and ninth houses. A few other things to share with you. The position of the moon is actually in an opposition with Saturn. So, though the ground air trine can help you to sparkle intellectually, from an emotional viewpoint, Saturn could be rather inhibiting. So, if you're trying to warm up a situation by using your enthusiasm and your knowledge, very Gemini approaches, just be aware you might not quite feel you're getting the flow going when it comes to conveying your message with a greater sense of warmth. Also, Venus is in a T square with these guys, meaning that Venus is in a square with Saturn too. There could be a coolness around one particular alliance at the moment. It may have been a relationship that's gone well in the past and it could be tested. If a romantic tie isn't going very well that you're in at the moment, with Saturn in that square to Venus, it could come to a close because, of course, Uranus being in your own sign and being so close to the Sun and also so close to the trine with Pluto, and as Pluto continues to rewind and Uranus moves forwards, that trine tightens up as we go through this year. You may be in the mood for a completely new beginning. The ninth house can be about liberty. You may feel you want to have greater power over your agency to do as you wish. Uranus can be where we break free from something that we have been invested in the past. It's not all about innovation. It is about our higher truth. And if you feel that maybe you have at some level been leading your life a little bit too much to please other people, this could be a very profound moment of actually wanting to wind down certain involvements. So I feel that I've covered most of the major themes of this. The North Node is right at the top of your chart and in a very strong link with Mars, suggesting when it comes to your direction of travel around your work, if you trust your instincts, something that Gemini people can struggle to do, you trust your intellect, which is all fair and dandy, but that's what Mars in the 12th house is asking you to work on. Get more intimately aware, however raw and settling it may be, if you can embrace that shadow side of your nature through to the end of June, it is going to release you when Mars moves into your sign as the month comes to a close into a new, really dynamic period that can be absolutely incredibly exciting. I'm going to summarize those four areas of energy, work, relationships, and finances next. But just to say, I've slashed the price on my personal horoscope reports. It's now three for the price of one. The one you pay for is your life roadmap report. It helps us to understand the patterns that are played out in our lives so far, get a more intimate understanding of those energies and how to work with them better future forwards. The free charts is your 12 months transit forecast, totally unique to you, and also your draconic soul karmic analysis. If your North Node in your nativity is not late in Pisces and early in Aries, the chances are your draconic chart could be completely different to your natal chart. It's an incredibly fascinating subject. It's really about the roots of our being. It's our soul roots, very much predicated on those nodal points. And it helps us to perhaps look at life, astrology, and ourselves in a completely fresh way. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your Mars 6-week forecast video, that's on the screen. If you've yet to watch your Gemini season 1 month forecast on the screen, if you'd like to work with me, it'd be an absolute pleasure. I work with people the world over. Please see my testimonials below. And if you've yet to take advantage of my free daily written horoscope fired to your device each morning, please see the link to sign up below. Get your early day celestial pit stop. So, as far as your work is concerned, if you work in an organization which is a bit cutthroat, really be watching your back at the moment. But you know, Mars squaring Pluto could be you actually coming to a more realistic understanding that something does need to shift. And even if you have been quite attached to it, and it might be the money, to be honest, this can be a time of completely new beginnings. And Uranus is certainly encouraging you to have the confidence to go for it. The North Node encouraging you to have the confidence to trust the process. When it comes to your energy, I feel that if there is a friendship at the moment that you're not quite sure of, maybe it is a romantic situation that feels tense, not quite flowing as it could do. Maybe you're in more of a moment of wanting to assert your space. That can affect your vitality. And I think a relationship that really has felt like it's been bumping along the bottom could be at an impasse at the least at the moment, if not terminally ended. but it's always possible that things can revive. However, financially, a very, very positive period is upcoming for you, Gemini, which will show itself around about the start of the second week of June. You've got lots to look forward to in that regard. And as far as your we talked about work. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired. We talked about work. We talked about money. We've talked about your energy. Well, I guess Saturn and Neptune in that 11th house. You know, if there is some politics or backbiting going on in any kind of group situation, I think that could be seeing you feeling a little bit more depleted. And with all that vitality or vital verve energy in Gemini, there are going to be times when you may need to cocoon yourself through the next 3 or 4 weeks. And if you're going at the speed of light and it's starting to wear and the rivets are starting to come out, do give yourself permission just to step back a little bit. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.